The iconic B-52 bomber surprises again. No matter how many new aircraft are produced, no one will be able to surpass the absolute power of the B-52. Despite the fact that this amazing aircraft is already 70 years old, it continues to show its best, leaving no chance for new bombers because no one can beat its records even now. That's why the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress has remained the main long-range aircraft of the U.S. Air Force for the past decades and will remain in service for at least the next 20 years. But what's so special about this bomber that no one can defeat? Why couldn't it be replaced by new representatives? And why can it be called the best in the world? Let's find out.
It will probably be the most famous airplane ever.
We should start with the B-52's strengths. It has a lot of them. There's no larger aircraft that can carry 70,500 pounds of shells and fly more than 8,700 miles on a single refueling. To give you an idea of the distance, a B-52 can take off from Washington, D.C., fly across the Atlantic Ocean, stop in Beijing, and still have full fuel. Of all the strategic bombers currently in service, the B-52 is the only one that's participated in a full-scale war, during which only one bomber was shot down. This is an indicator of reliability and power, isn't it? It's worth emphasizing that 740 of these aircraft were built in the United States. Only 220 Tu-95s were built at the same time. There's no need to talk about the younger B-2 Spirit. There are only 20 of them. To remain in combat service, B-52s regularly get repaired and modernized, which allows them to maintain the necessary technical condition for the next mission. The pilots are also trained and prepared according to a special methodology, so they're always ready for battle. For example, during the Cold War, the B-52 crew quarters were located close to a parked bomber. Thus, they could run out of the building to the aircraft and prepare it for takeoff a few minutes after the order was announced. At the time of the danger, the B-52s would have already been in the air on their way to the combat target, while the other bombers would have just taken off from the runway.
You know, it's almost like a sprinter ready to take off. And then you get moving.
The Stratofortress is the largest and heaviest combat aircraft of the U.S. Air Force, which gives it certain advantages in the light of its main tasks. The bomber has a wingspan of 180 feet and a length of 160 feet. To give you a better idea of its size, put two 9-story buildings on top of each other and put them on the ground. This will be the length of the aircraft. The weight of this giant reaches 220 tons in full combat load, and most of this weight is taken up by fuel, which can hold 47,500 gallons in the tanks.
We modified the B-52D models with what we call the big belly modification to the point where between external and internal carriage.
If you had this kind of fuel supply for your car, you could drive 1,200,000 miles. The Boeing's able to spend all this amount in just one flight, as it can reach a speed of 650 miles per hour at its maximum altitude. In addition, the bomber's equipped with an in-flight refueling system. This feature allows to increase the duration and range of flight to incredible levels. For example, in the past, experiments were conducted during which the B-52 remained in the air for 45 hours in a row. During this time, the enemy could have shot it down, but they'd have to try hard because the bomber's equipped with protection against interceptors and anti-aircraft missiles. Until the early 90s, all B-52Hs were equipped with 20mm M61 automatic cannons. Later, such weapons were abandoned in favor of other means of defense. For example, a B-52 with a laser system is currently being tested. Thus, from the point of view of the main characteristics, the B-52H is a very successful aircraft capable of solving a large number of combat missions in various conditions. In addition, the renewal of equipment and its components makes it possible to ensure the necessary combat capabilities. Despite their considerable age, B-52H bombers remain a serious threat to their enemies. During the last modernization, engineers made it easier to load and unload bombs and added a camera in the bomb bay. So now no one has to crawl around and check for shells. Rolls-Royce has also launched an engine upgrade program. The final test of the F-130 dual-pod engine, which is free of all problems, has now begun. The engine also has increased reliability and consumes less fuel. This means that if the new engine replaces the old one soon, the B-52 will be able to serve for at least another 30 years. While analogs such as the Boeing 727, DC-10, L-1011 are gradually becoming decommissioned, The B-52 is still serving the U.S. Air Force. And what about analogs? Why hasn't any of them surpassed the B-52 after so much time? Let's start with the bomber, which is the most advanced and technologically sophisticated, the B-2 Spirit.
The B-2 is a stealth aircraft. It's designed to basically kick down the door to open up that entryway.
This magnificent aircraft changed the way we think about aviation in general, as it was the world's first bomber to be designed with a flying wing, and the first aircraft to use a reflective stealth coating. It flies at a distance of 6,800 miles at a speed of 600 miles per hour and can transport nuclear warheads anywhere in the world. With the capabilities the Spirit has, it was supposed to become the undisputed successor to the B-52 and replace it, but it didn't. First, many of the B-2's advantages turned out to be its disadvantages. The stealth coating was washed off by the rain in a few minutes, and before each flight it had to be reapplied, waiting for it to dry and hoping that it wouldn't rain during the flight.
The shape of the B-2 is basically designed so that it minimizes the amount of radar that can be returned to the original source.
Moreover, some of the Spirit's parts turned out to be extremely impervious to moisture, and because of this, they had to be stored and maintained in special hangars with giant climate control units. The speed of the B-2 was also not very good. The B-52 is capable of 680 miles per hour, which is 190 miles per hour faster, so the old aircraft easily outruns it. It may not seem critical, but during a combat mission when every second counts, this advantage solves a lot of problems.
The stabilization of a B-2 flying wing configuration becomes a software and computer hardware problem. It becomes a cybernetic problem.
And finally, let's talk about the price. Each Spirit is worth $2,100,000,000. At the same time, the most sophisticated B-52H model will cost $55 million. The basic version's only $9 million. That is, for the price of just one Spirit, 40 perfect B-52s can be produced, which will be 100 times more reliable. From this point on, it becomes clear why the U.S. government still relies on the Stratofortress and is trying to modernize it, but the aircraft has another competitor that's similar in price and performance, but has not gained the same popularity. We think it's worth comparing them in a fair fight. Both aircraft have proven themselves in military conflicts, both have shown good results, both are capable of destroying the enemy by dropping megaton thermonuclear bombs, but only one will be able to win this battle. The Tu-95 is the world's fastest propeller aircraft and the only production turboprop bomber. However, despite the loud words, its speed lags behind that of the B-52 and reaches only 570 miles per hour. The size of the propellers and the power of the Tu-95 engines resulted in another feature. It's a very noisy aircraft. Even submarine hydroacoustic systems can hear it. What are the risks? At the very least, it'll be much more difficult for it to reach the enemy unhindered than the faster and quieter B-52. The defensive characteristics of both bombers are roughly the same, but while the B-52 is currently being modernized, there's no mention of improvements to the Tu-95. This aircraft is stuck in time, and given the evolving air defense capabilities, shooting it down is becoming as easy as shooting down a balloon, which is not the case with the B-52, which still easily fights back against air defense. Given all of the above, we can firmly say that the B-52 Stratofortress is the world's best bomber, with a power that can only be rivaled by a fool who's never seen a multi-ton armed aircraft that's become a symbol of America's determination.
The B-52 has now become a symbol of more than a bomber. It's a symbol of America's resolve.
This is the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you like the video, and don't forget to express your opinion with likes and comments, which we read carefully. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.